Hello, and welcome to Self-Care is Sexy. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host. We're a podcast that's here to generate and share self-care ideas with each other. On my last episode, I was trying to get the listeners to start thinking better about themselves. I talked about our inner dialogue, our outer dialogue, like the way we speak about ourselves to other people, and just different ways that we can think about ourselves better than we are right now, because there's always a better thought that you can be having about yourself. We're in the business of changing the way you think about yourself to a more positive and a celebratory mindset. This podcast is all about getting real and helping you figure out how to take better care of yourself. If you missed that episode or any of our past shows, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, PodNation, and really anywhere you find your podcasts, including at our website, www.selfcareissexy.com. All right, I want to give you a quick preview of what to expect from today's show. So today, I'm going to be talking about the common mistakes that beginners to self-care make. Now, we're talking about big ones, how to spot the big mistakes you make when you're first engaging in a self-care practice. We're also going to talk about how we can work around those mistakes in a loving way so that we don't end up face down in the suck pit of how much we hate ourselves. But first, a few quick housekeeping notes. Okay, so today I want to talk about the common mistakes that beginners make with self-care. And I wanted to roll this out this week because we've got a lot of brand new listeners lately, and I feel like it's a good time to help everyone get on the same page. So first of all, you've made the decision. You have made the decision. Even by listening to this podcast, you have made the decision that self-care is important. It's something you'd like to do better at. You recognize that there are benefits. And if you don't know the benefits of self-care, if you're not even really sure how you ended up or why you're listening to this show, there are a bunch of past episodes that I do that can build you up to this place of, okay, I've made the decision that I'm going to focus on self-care, that I'm going to take care of myself. Because the whole point of this show is to give you permission to put yourself first. This show, this podcast, is about helping you figure out how you can take better care of yourself, how you can love yourself, how you can cultivate that really great relationship with yourself so that you are self-sufficient and do not have to rely on anyone else, and therefore eliminating any potential manipulation that you might normally succumb to. And for a lot of people, taking good care of themselves, managing themselves, it does not come naturally. It's not a skill that we're really taught as young people. There's really no course in the world that says, hey, you're going to grow up, you're going to experience some things, and this is how you take care of yourself through it all. You can piece it together by what you pick up and what you learn throughout your life. But if nobody sits down and talks to you about, hey, this is important, taking care of yourself, listening to your intuition, drawing boundaries, having a good routine in place that is all about taking care of you first is so imperative to well-being. And I really feel like I said, we've gotten a lot of new listeners. The listenership has just exploded this last couple of months. And I'm sure that is a result of COVID and people trying to figure out a way of how they can really be in tune with their mental health without, a lot of the resources and the outlets that we have in quote unquote normal times. So it got me to thinking about when I very first started my own self-care journey and when I started this podcast, and really that light bulb aha moment of oh, you know what? Taking care of myself should be my number one priority. I started out having all these goals and ambitions and things that I wanted to do, but the most important thing, the one thing that I could do that would help to, help me be successful in all of those different areas was to focus on my self-care. And I say that self-care is sexy because when somebody is in that zone of caring for themselves and they become that self-sufficient, self-propelled well of happiness, they can figure out what's wrong with them and do what needs to be done in order to help them feel better. I see those kinds of people and I'm like, dang, they are sexy. They are mad hot. People that invest in themselves, people that take the time to take care of themselves, whether that's, the physically fit or, the real gorgeous makeup and whatever, that type of effort is so sexy. But I'm also talking about the self-care, the internal self-care, that really good getting to know what it is you need and then being able to supply it. Because we're going to go through a lot of crap. Your life is going to have ups and downs, and whether it's going really well right now or you're totally in the shitter, either way, you're going to have to learn how to manage yourself, manage your emotions, manage your response to things. And you're going to have to be able to have a softness about it and give yourself that same grace that you so freely give to everyone else. And how do I know that you so freely give it to everyone else? Well, because you're listening to this show. And if self-care has been on your mind, if it's something you're really, you're like, God, I really should be taking better care of myself, or how do I take better care of myself? If you're really struggling with sort of the basics of why self-care is important or how to get started or what to do, I really want to be here to help you and let you know it's probably not as hard as you think it is. But there are some mistakes, some general things I've seen folks come across when they're very first starting out, trying to make themselves a priority and maybe switching from that drastic lifestyle of people pleasing and codependency and being manipulated by a narcissist and recovering from that and how it looks on the other side. Because you might be going through a traumatic breakup or some kind of event in your life that's like, no, now there's a line in the sand and now I've decided from here forward I am taking care of myself. I am doing what I want to do. And I want us all to really stand in that power wherever we're at with our self-care journey, is to stand in the power and say, I deserve to take this time and figure it out. I deserve the energy and the effort through journaling or these little tips and tricks that Chris comes up with. I deserve that time to figure out how to take better care of myself. Because what ends up happening as a result is that you start to get this momentum and you start to figure out the best ways to care for yourself. And it just becomes a whole different way of living. I promise you, self-care will free you from that trap you've been in. However, I do want to make sure that you avoid the common mistakes that beginners to self-care make. So number one, the biggest mistake I've heard folks make when it comes to self-care, if they're new at it, is they vacillate between the highs and lows. So they overdo the self-care to compensate for like the years of the lack of self-love and the self-loathing and all of the hateful things we've said to ourselves in our heads. So we get gung-ho and we go massively the other direction, and we give ourselves a pedicure and we take a bath and we listen to our favorite music and we order takeout and we go for a long walk and we do all these things and we cram them all in, and it's a little too much too quick, and then we go streaming right back to the other side, the other end of that teeter-totter, which is hating ourselves, telling ourselves we're a piece of crap, going over every mistake, everything we've ever said or done wrong, and obsessing about how bad we are, and really having that inner dialogue of self-hatred and just this disgusting way that we think about ourselves. And a lot of people who are new to self-care really struggle with that sort of back and forth, that tennis match, if you will, that's happening between the brain that says, yes, I deserve to take care of myself, I'm going to learn to love myself better, and the brain that's been stuck in the muck of thinking you're a piece of crap and really being super hard on yourself. So when you're first starting out with self-care, it's really important to find that middle, so that you're not vacillating between these extremes. And finding that middle, it usually means if you're new to self-care, you're gonna have to practice a little restraint and hold yourself back from going gung-ho into anything new or radically changing your lifestyle. And this is why diets don't work. This is why complete overhauls of our lifestyles don't work. Because if you go too hard, too fast, it's gonna be too contractual and you're not gonna be able to find your center. You're gonna feel out of whack. And so then your brain is gonna try to pull you back to that ritualistic thinking of how crappy you are. Number 2, the other big mistake that a lot of beginners make when they first start their self-care journey is they immediately start to judge their progress. So if you're not seeing the results that you want from self-care, and let me tell you, there are results, there are trackable changes, but you are the conductor of this train. You are the captain of this ship. You get to decide what the progress looks like. The challenge I see, or the hardship that I see beginners of self-care who, haven't taken care of themselves in years, or they have, sporadically or intermittently maybe taken care of themselves once in a while, and then they start kind of thinking maybe I should do this more consistently, but then they judge themselves so harshly, either for treating themselves like crap for all these years, right? Where you don't want to get on that train, where you're judging yourself for having not had good thoughts about yourself or having not practiced self-care in any way. Or you compare yourself against somebody else who's further along, in your opinion. I mean, we do this all the time, like on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, whatever social media feed you're feeding yourself, you're judging and comparing yourself to other people. And when it comes to self-care and when it comes to progressing and self-development, you have to remember that you've spent a lot of your life, a lot of time in your life being really hard on yourself and really putting yourself at the back of the list. So it's going to take small incremental steps to get to that place where self-care is natural, where it's your default, where you have non-negotiables, where you definitely make what's important to you the priority. But please, when you're starting this out, do not judge yourself against others. Do not look at other people and be like, oh, I wish I was further along, or I wish I had that kind of confidence. Just be where you are now and do a little bit better than yesterday. If yesterday you spent the whole day, under the covers, self-loathing, beating yourself up, binge eating, having, these drastic lashing outs, today is not the day to go gung-ho on the whole, rehaul your self-care routine. Today is the day to just forgive yourself for it and move on. Number 3, another mistake that I see a lot of beginners to self-care make is that we make the mistake of believing we don't have enough time. Now, I say believing we don't have enough time because saying we don't have enough time is one thing, right? That's one of my favorite excuses. Oh, I'm so busy, right? That's my favorite excuse as to why I can't do my yoga, or I can't drink my water, or I can't take that nature walk that I really need, or, I can't sit down and journal my thoughts about, getting these negative thoughts out and replacing them with better thoughts. It is a lie to say that I'm too busy. And I actually have an episode called Being Hit by the Busy Bus, which is, it really is a phenomenon where you just constantly think, and these are patterns of thought, right? We constantly think like, oh, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I can't do this. I don't have enough time. The truth is, if you believe that, if that is your default response to why you're not getting self-care, in the beginning, you really believe that. You do. You think, I've only got so many hours in the day, and the kids need to be fed, and my husband's lunch needs to be made, and I've got to do the laundry because if we don't have clean unders, the whole world is going to fall apart. And here's the truth. Here's the real truth I want you to really take away. If this is the only thing you take away from today's episode, this would be it. This would be the gem to put in your pocket and carry around for the week, which is you have enough time to take care of yourself. You do. You're just choosing not to. And the second you own that truth, the second you understand that taking care of yourself is a choice, and that for possibly years of your life you have chosen to do other things than take care of yourself, you have to stop believing you don't have enough time to take care of yourself and just own the fact that you're choosing not to. And that's okay. Again, don't beat yourself up or judge yourself for having not done that. But don't you deserve your energy? Don't you deserve your attention? Haven't you lived this whole life for everyone else doing things for other people? Isn't it time you